All right, I'm calling to order Swarthmore Borough Council's legislative session, February 12, 2018. I see that all members of council are present, as is Borough Manager and Secretary Jane Billings and Borough Solicitor Scott. Our Mayor, Tim Carney, is off politicking this evening. Is there any member of the public here tonight that would care to address council? Apparently there being none, I'm calling the public comment period to a close. First item on the agenda is consideration of the council meeting minutes of February 5th, 2018. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or amendments to the minutes? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The minutes of the February 5th, 2018 meeting are approved. I have a question for everyone or anyone, maybe who knows the answer. I think we all saw in the paper that the Republicans in Harrisburg, or at least some Republicans in Harrisburg, I'm not quite sure what the official status was, presented a revised electoral map. This is for a U.S. congressional district in Pennsylvania to the governor. And unless something has happened in the last couple of hours, I think he still has it under consideration and is required to either present it to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court or not. I think by the 15th, am I right about that? Yeah. Yeah. And I saw, I read a little bit about it in the paper, and I saw some of the renderings of it, the drawings of it. As far as Swarthmore is concerned, it looked to be kind of pretty much the same. I know there were some big changes to the 7th, but as far as Swarthmore is concerned and the first district, it looked to be very similar, if not the same, but I couldn't really tell. Is that true? Does anyone know?
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
That's correct.
We're still in the first.
So there was really no change as far as Swarthmore
Assuming that version is accepted.
is concerned. What's that?
Assuming that version is accepted.
Assuming that version is accepted, we had no idea, and I haven't heard anything about. I know the governor has his own independent expert. I think a mathematician or topographer or somebody, but I haven't heard anything about any discussions. Has anyone here heard anything about it?
No.
No.
The
Okay.
one discussion that I heard is that since it was not approved by the Assembly, that it might not really be valid anyway.
I heard that too, because wasn't it just a group of two Republican representatives, right? I think, or were they?
Yes.
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 Right. So it didn't have it wasn't like an official
On
behalf of Pennsylvania Republicans or something like that. Okay.
I'll just be non-verbal.
Yeah.
My understanding was that the two opposing parties have the opportunity to submit competing plans.
Is that right?
And that the court can either accept or reject them and can impose its own plan.
Well, I know the court, I had thought that the idea was a plan, and I for some reason I thought, because the Republicans are in a majority, a proposed plan would go from the legislature to the governor, and that he had a certain amount of time to consider it and either present it to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court as with his imprimatur or not.
I think
And
that's correct.
that if there wasn't agreement, that the court could then draw its own map. Is that right, Bob?
correct.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, okay. And I think the governor has to the 15th. Does anyone here on council have any strong feelings about the map, or whether council should try to inject itself in any way in those deliberations, or?
I'm just
throwing it out there.
We twice approve resolutions.
Yes, we did.
On the redistricting.
We did.
And it was the Fair District's
Yes.
recommendation.
Yes.
So we were, in those resolutions, we were in favor of the methods proposed by Fair Districts.
Right.
And my understanding, limited understanding from like reading the Inquirer article, is that they don't think Scarnucci, or whatever his name is, and the other guy who did it, really complied with what Fair Districts would want. But I assume that Fair Districts and these other players that are very actively involved will make their voice heard. We haven't heard from them.
We haven't. I know the Pennsylvania Democratic Party, I think I'm right about that, that almost immediately came out opposed to the proposed map. But I haven't really heard a lot since then.
I think it's very hard for us to
Yes.
know,
Right. Right.
because we're not parties to the litigation.
Right.
Well, I have strong feelings about it because of the exclusion of Swarthmore out of the 7th district, which essentially separates us from the rest of our school district, which is an important concern, which in my understanding is an artificial separation that is not acceptable under even the policy by which districts are supposed to be drawn in Pennsylvania. So I don't know if we have an opportunity to pass some kind of resolution or some kind of letter or recommendation to Governor Wolf making a recommendation on this, but I feel like it's in Swarthmore's best interest to be included in the 7th district with the rest of our county, with the rest of our school district.
Yeah, we're probably, unfortunately, there's a timing issue, but we're probably not prepared this evening because no one has prepared a resolution or anything like that. On the other hand, of course, individual members of council are free to write the governor or whatever you want to do to express your views.
I've already done that.
You've already done that, yeah. Even if council, as a body, will not be able to express its views in time, given that I think 15th is the deadline, so there isn't a lot of time. But yeah, as individuals, we can always do that. I just wondered, what people were feeling about that, or if it was.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we can't, as a group, decide to send even a letter and signing it on as the council, or I think the group would have a stronger impact.
I see the solicitor reaching for his microphone, so.
You could do that. It's just a matter of we're not going to have a draft for you to review tonight at the table. But you could give direction to send a letter stating that you want Swarthmore included in the 7th congressional district, and to put one together.
So how do people feel about that on council? I mean, if someone were to move in favor of that, and we would have to give some direction. Bob, would you draft that letter, or Jane, would you draft it?
I could, and I'd do it for your signature as council.
Okay.
On behalf of the council.
Okay. I mean, I think the sense of a letter like that would be, if I'm hearing everybody correctly, it certainly reflects my own feelings. I mean, I do think that it's a bit, even just looking at the map, it looks a little bit strange to have like half of the city of Philadelphia and then this narrow little strip down along the river and then this kind of like blip that comes up and covers Swarthmore. I mean, really, what kind of justification could there be for that? One wonders. But, I mean, I think the idea of Swarthmore being included in the 7th, which seems to be where it naturally belongs, not just, from the point of view of geography and natural boundaries and all that sort of thing, but also, as Betsy pointed out, the rest of the county, the school district. I think those are all important considerations. So I think a letter from council would be a pretty brief letter, but it would be something along those lines, I think. Any more discussion?
I'll have a follow-on thought to that. I mean, do you remember the submission dates? I thought the submission date was the 15th.
Don't.
My recollection was it was the 15th.
I believe that Governor Wolf has until the 15th to.
So
Yeah.
I have no problem with sending a letter, but with them doing everything by the 15th, I don't believe our letter is going to have much impact. But I do think there's going to be an appeal. There's going to be an appeal, and probably people will be joining in amicus briefs.
Mhm.
And I would say we should look forward to that point if we wanted to, weigh in on an amicus brief or just add our name, not right away, but add our name to some list.
An appeal of, in that it is at the Supreme Court now.
Yes,
What appeal to
to the Supreme Court.
the federal Supreme Court?
Yes, somebody's going to appeal to the Supreme Court.
Oh, but the Supreme Court already rejected it.
They-
They said it's clearly a state matter and they're not
Yeah.
going to weigh in on it.
Yeah.
Alito,
But that
well,
won't stop them from trying again.
they moved for a stay. Alito rejected on behalf of the
A
Supreme
stay.
Court. A stay,
Yes, but
yes.
that's not a merits decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
At some point,
So-
there's going to be appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. It may get rejected, but on the merits. I'm just saying, like, at that point,
Right.
the lawyers here know
That
that.
might be the time.
That.
Well,
I'm fine with
Could we do
doing
an
a letter.
email?
I'm fine with doing a
We
letter.
do both, right?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I certainly agree with, with what Ross has just said, but on the other hand, I guess if council is interested in sending a letter, sending an email, sending a letter by email, I guess to the governor's office, would that be the place that we would send it? Just expressing our views, I'd certainly be happy to entertain a motion.
Should the state representative have some role in filtering the message?
Well, this is a little bit different because this is actually, a political entity,
Right.
expressing the views of the duly elected representatives as such. We're not just as part of this larger
Yes.
legislative district, but actually the borough of Swarthmore itself.
Right.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we write a letter to President Wolf saying that Swarthmore should remain in the 7th district.
Right, it would be
Should go back to being in the-
governor,
Go back
governor,
to-
and it should go back. It's
Yeah.
it's been in the
Go
first,
back.
should go back.
Yeah.
Well, I
Back to
think
the seventh.
I think what we would have to do at this point is, my thought would be that we advise that he reject the redistricting policy based on the fact
Mhm.
that we believe Swarthmore should be reunited in some way with the rest of the 7th district. So is that? Because I think his decision, he can't rewrite it at this
No,
point. He can either accept it or
Sounds good.
reject it.
Well, he can come up with his own
Is
plan.
that an option?
It is an option. And he's got an independent expert, I know.
I was under the impression that if he
It was either
rejected
up or down?
Yeah, it goes back to the Supreme Court to figure it out.
Yeah, I suppose if he redid it or suggested changes and the legislature went along with it, agreed with him, then, right, so. But the idea, I think, would be a letter to the governor basically expressing the wishes of the borough of Swarthmore to be part of the 7th congressional district for the reasons that we discussed.
So you're moving on that, Lauren?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion of that issue or idea, or refinements or anything like that?
Can we do a letter and an email?
I don't see why not. Probably we could email
I think
the
we just
letter.
email the letter.
We just email the
Okay,
letter.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can
Make sure it
maybe,
gets
I'll
sent.
call fair
Yeah.
districts and ask who they think the best
Okay.
distribution list would be.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That sounds,
Like you said, they're on top of it.
that sounds great.
And you'll definitely do it electronically, it's not, no problem.
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, and it's all right with everyone if I sign that letter on behalf of council? Okay.
Do you want to vote?
We're going to have a vote, yeah. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye, so motion is passed, and we'll look forward to seeing that. I think it can be a pretty brief, to the point sort of letter. Great, thanks. All right. Environment, Lauren?
We don't have a report, but I do want to make a motion that we authorize to advertise the ordinance amending the borough's the borough's environmental advisory council, the additions that we've added and that we talked about.
That's ordinance number 1083, right?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Say nay. None. Chair votes in favor, so the motion's passed. And that ordinance will be advertised. Anything else, Warren?
That's it.
No, thank you. Finance, Michael?
Yes. Let's start with the financial report for January. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to take a look at it. Obviously, it's the first month of the year, so it's it's obviously early in the year, and obviously there's going to be some variability as 1 month of the year. Revenues at $119,000 are more than what we had last year. A lot of that's just timing with payments from the college and from Rutledge for police services. So otherwise, things are basically on track as it relates to both revenues and expenditures. And the cash balance at the end of January was $992,878. Are there any questions as it relates to the financial report for January? Okay. All right. Hearing no questions, I will move on now to wire transactions. I'd like to make a motion to approve wire transactions for January 2018 totaling $42,624.77.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None are opposed, chair votes aye, so the motion is passed.
Okay. Now moving on to the open invoices for January, I'd like to make a motion to approve invoices totaling $377,225.09.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye, motion is passed.
Okay, a couple more quick things. We did have a pension committee meeting last week. I think as a quick summary, everything is going as expected. We do have an index-oriented manager, so returns are as you would expect from the markets. The one area that we discussed that might be likely to be a change in how we do things is we typically have made our contributions for our MMOs in September when we got state aid. And based on best practices in other places that also make MMO payments, we are thinking at least of making that twice a year. We have the money just to sort of dollar cost average as opposed to doing it all at once. So likely we'll do that once tax receipts come in, probably around April 15th is what we've tentatively set up. So it just means that we're going to make two payments of like $200,000. That's less than $200,000. $175,000 each, one in April and one in September. And we do get our state aid in September, but state aid is only 20% of what we contribute ultimately. So in addition to that, we did discuss, as we discussed in this meeting last week, utilizing some of our excess funds potentially to make additional payments to the MMO. And what we ultimately decided was if we are going to do that, we'll follow the same time period. In other words, we're not going to try and time the market or think it's going down and we're going to buy it now. We're going to, as April 15th comes, we'll evaluate whether we want to add an additional payment. Same thing in September. So,
Sorry, what's an MMO?
It's a minimum municipal obligation for the pension. So we have to contribute every year. It's basically a formula from our actuary based on assets and liabilities and all kinds of things. Anyway, so that's all from the pension committee report. Any questions as it relates to the pension? Okay. And then finally, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Joan Band to the Swarthmore Borough Authority. She has stepped forward to fill a void we need there, and hoping we can approve her tonight.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Should be great.
Would be.
Yes, and thanks again to Joan for being willing to step forward and help out. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye, and again, Ms. Band is appointed with our thanks.
That's all I have, and the finance committee will not be meeting this month.
No meeting, okay. Sarah, general government?
The General Government Committee will be meeting this month on the 26th, which is the fourth Monday, because we had to switch it for the holiday. It's usually the third Monday. We're going to continue the parking discussion. We're also going to have on the agenda addressing social media strategies for the borough, and also the issue with the Swarthmore college students voter registration. Trying to figure out, since they have to change their address every year, do they, can we make that easier for them? And we'll talk about ways in which maybe we can help with that.
Great, great, thank you, Sarah. Planning and zoning, let's see.
The Planning and Zoning Committee will meet on the 22nd, normal meeting time, for Thursday at 7:30. From what I understand, the Planning Committee is meeting on the 21st, and I think they're hoping to have the ordinance on the auxiliary housing units.
Oh, they are, okay.
So I don't know if that would be brought up on the 22nd or not. I think that might be too tight a time window, and I don't even know if they'll approve it on the 21st.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a little vague, I thought, in their memo. You mean because they're meeting on the 21st? Yeah.
Planning commission.
Planning,
Commission,
Planning Commission,
right.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, I,
Especially because it sounds like he's adding now more stuff on the co-housing.
right, yeah.
Trying to do it all at once, so.
Yeah,
Kind of sounded like it'd be another month, don't you think?
I was thinking it would be overly optimistic
Yeah.
to think that it would come in on the 22nd. But we probably will be addressing the zoning concerns on Riverview.
Right, the ones that we heard about last week
Last
and
week.
got the letter.
Yes, yeah, I've had various contacts.
Do you want to have an executive session
I would like to have an executive session.
tonight?
Tonight?
No, or at your meeting?
And, I think the first step would be to have the executive session with planning and zoning and then figure out what we would like to do. Thank you.
Anything else, Betsy? Thanks. Public safety, Mary?
Thank you. Public Safety Committee will be meeting next Tuesday, the 20th at 7:30 PM in this room. That's it.
Thank you, Mary. Public Works, Ross.
Okay, so we will be meeting on the 22nd. We normally meet at 8:30, and we're having the borough engineer come to talk about the sewer system, and both the sewer system in general, sewer laterals, which are the connections from our houses to the sewer, and the engineer will make a presentation also about a new sidewalk management.
Pavement.
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 Oh, it's a pavement system.
Pavement management
Pavement
system.
management system. So the question is whether we move our meeting from 8:30 to 8, because people have to leave at 9:30, and I think pretty much
Joe
everyone...
can't usually, I just think, sorry, he usually can't make it at 8, yeah.
Okay. So we'll do it at 8:30.
Yeah,
Okay. So that's it.
Thank you, Ross.
yeah.
What's pavement and sidewalk? What's the difference between pavement and sidewalk?
Pavement is the asphalt, sidewalk is the concrete.
Okay.
Yeah. I assume, yeah. I see, can I talk about our new pavement management system? I don't know if it's a way to manage the asphalt or it's a way to manage your assets so you know what you need to pave. I didn't ask, but I need the element of surprise.
Great, thank you, Ross. Is there any other business? Anyone?
The resolution
There is.
on your.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Gotta do that.
So we have sewer repairs to make. We can apply to the state for a grant to help defray that cost. And the state requires us to pass a resolution authorizing the application for that grant. The resolution's been prepared. It simply says we authorize the president and the borough manager to sign the application for the grant. And the grant, Jane, is for $300,000?
The grant is $300,000, the borough would contribute, the project cost is, I think it comes out to $365, something like that. We'll do 20% and their contribution would be $300,000. I don't know if we'll get the whole thing, we certainly have that much work
Yeah. So I move to approve the resolution that Jane is authorized and David is authorized to sign the application for a grant to the state for sewer repair.
Is there a second to, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. Resolution number 2018-01 is adopted.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ross? Is that it? That's it? Okay. Is there any other business? Any other member of council have anything to raise?
You know, I have a question.
Sure.
I don't, you can shut me down if this isn't the forum to do this, but I was rereading the last couple weeks of the Swarthmore, and someone had written a letter objecting, since this is my department now, objecting to the zoning board rulings, the last couple rulings, and the letter cited the rulings inaccurately. And so I was just feeling a need to respond to that and correct the record. Is that ever, should I just let it go? Does that ever happen? Especially since the issue is now coming up again.
Yeah. I mean, it's awfully tempting, and of course, if we try to correct the record every single time there was a misstatement either in the Swarthmorean or in next door Swarthmore or other social media, that would be a good size project because. So I guess the question really is, is it an issue that's important enough, timely enough, whatever that, and of enough importance to the public and important that the public really understand now exactly what the issue is or aren't. To me, it's almost kind of a case-by-case analysis. I don't think we really have a policy. I think it'd be hard to develop a policy, one way or the other. Although, as the General Government Committee begins to discuss social media and that sort of thing, council has raised this kind of issue before, and the question, oftentimes is, who is authorized to respond? Who ought to be responding? If it's really on behalf of the borough or on behalf of council, who should be doing that? And what sort of checks or controls should there be? And so I guess this is a long-winded way of not answering your question. Because I think it really is at this point anyway, it's kind of a case-by-case thing. But maybe we'll develop some policies as we get into this that'll make it easier to address those sorts of things in a more systematic way. I mean, anyone else wants to talk about this, feel free. I mean, that's just sort of those are my views.
I mean, I'd just like to add, I think that would be another thing to add to our social media, whatever it is, just to have a step-by-step how to respond.
Or even like a communications policy or something.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Betsy. Thanks for bringing that up. Mayor Tim Carney's not here tonight, so we won't have the benefit of his remarks. Jane, do you have a report?
Nothing, except we still have two alternate vacancies, one on the Civil Service Commission, one on the Zoning Hearing Board. We have no cases pending right now before the board, but we put it, it's on the website, it's been in the newspaper. Certainly ask your friends, anyone who might be interested to apply.
Do you need to be a lawyer for the zoning hearing board?
No, lawyers are not at any advantage, really, because it's a very specific set of criteria that they're looking at, and their solicitor goes over that with each case, so it's not necessary. It's really nice actually to have a mix, to have designers, architects, anyone who can read a plan. No one should feel that they're not competent enough to do it. We'll make sure that they have the materials to do it.
I think the main thing for boards is that the people show up for the meetings. I mean, that's really critical. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what
That's
matters.
a good question. It'd be too bad if people thought they couldn't apply because of some special consideration. Thanks.
Bob?
I do not have anything tonight, thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.